So last year, I decided to finally get my act together and start building Halloween props or just putting up Halloween decorations. I bought some of them, but I wanted to build some on my own. And last year, I built this Misfits Fiend coffin. I was really happy with it. It's much taller than it looks in this corner. It's kind of like laying down a little bit. But after this, I started thinking about, well, what should I do for this year, 2025? And I was trying to brainstorm. I was sitting here having a beer, just chilling and thinking, what could I possibly do? And there's a hint right behind me. But I was thinking about Universal Monsters. I was thinking about like Aliens. I was thinking about Resident Evil. I was thinking about doing a Nemesis. That would have been pretty cool. But then it came to me. I was going to build a Tarman. Okay, so I went to Michael's and I grabbed this really cheap skull. I think it was like $2.99, which was amazing. I noticed that a lot of the stores, especially Michael's, puts a lot of their stuff on sale at the beginning of the season, almost as if it's the end of the season, if that makes sense. So like this was mid-September, and I was able to get a bunch of Halloween stuff for super marked down prices, almost like the season was over, which is really nice. So keep that in mind for next year. So here I am. I'm just kind of like trying to make ears. I put some putty in the nose. I'm using glue sticks to make it look a little slimier. And just a heads up, as I'm talking here, I keep messing with what I'm trying to do with these videos and like experimenting with how I'm doing these videos. So I'm going really freeform this time. I filmed all of this, I edited it, and now I'm just kind of talking over it. So I'm going to talk about just about whatever I want relating to this. There I am. I just used some cardboard, I think from an old like beer six-pack, the upside down part of it, to make a tongue. And surprisingly, it worked out really well. And there I am, just kind of like, I got these half circles that I think I just bought off Amazon. They're just plastic, and that's how I was making the eyes. And there they are, just fitted in there just to see what they'd be like. And there's some Kona Brown Rust-Oleum, and I painted the whole skull, and I think it looks creepy as hell like that. So I painted these with some blue acrylic, and there's the skull. I actually used some spray foam for the cranium part of the skull to make sure that it kind of looked more like the Tarman. He's got a pretty tall skull. And I think it looked pretty good. That's pretty much it for the skull. I was trying to make it, at this point in the project, as much like the film as I could, even though I kind of went lighter on some of the colors just because I wanted them to pop, especially in the dark when I have this thing out. But I covered it in a lot of like gloss acrylic spray to keep it looking wet, and I think it did stay kind of wet looking. But yeah, Return of the Living Dead, the reason, I don't know, Tarman to me is just the perfect zombie. When I was growing up, 11, 12, 13 years old, me and my friends started getting into horror movies, and we found Return of the Living Dead, and it had a punk rock soundtrack, and it had tons of nudity, it had tons of, not violence, but just nonsense, over the top, goofy, slapstick, horror, blood and guts, and that's what we were looking for at the time. And I don't know, I kind of just fell in love with that movie, and I definitely fell in love with Tarman as well because of that. So here I am, just kind of building the body out with Loctite spray foam. That's for you, Ryan. My brother-in-law, Ryan, always gives me crap because I clear my throat during these videos. I try not to, but I guess I'm just an old man, an old dad, and that's just the noises that I make. Anyway, yeah, so use Loctite, don't use great stuff. Loctite, you can spray it, then spray it with like a mist of water, then wait about 10 minutes, and then kind of form it to what you want it to do. And Great Stuff won't let you do that. So definitely get Loctite. Depending on what you're building. I guess if you're building something really, really big, you could use Great Stuff. It might be a little bit cheaper. And you could like build the form with that and then use the Loctite for like the outer portions of it to really like get that form. But I always just get Loctite because I really like it. So let's see, is this me spraying some Loctite? Yeah, this is me spraying some Loctite down. Again, like I said earlier, oh no, this is me. I'm using a heat gun on the PVC that I actually put out. I went to Home Depot and got some PVC and some little like lock nut bolt type things that connect all these pieces of PVC. It's just like in the plumbing department, but it's great for building a body of a zombie or anything else you want to build. So I'm hitting that plastic with a heat gun so that I can bend it, and you'll see that in a minute. So I'm hitting that with the heat gun, hitting that with the heat gun, hitting that with the heat gun, hitting that with the heat gun. Takes a while, and then let's see, as I'm bending it, after I hit it with the... Yep, there you go. See? Bends really easily. You got to hit it with the heat gun for a while, though. And try not to get the heat gun too close to the PVC because then you'll burn it or you'll get weird smells and stuff. But if you just heat it up just enough to bend it, it's perfect. But like I was saying, at that time, when I was growing up, getting into horror movies, Return of the Living Dead was perfect. The soundtrack was perfect. There was punk rockers in it, and then that kind of led us to playing the Resident Evil games, which were fun as hell as well. So maybe next year I will build a Nemesis. We'll see if I don't build something else. But all right, yeah, I was just using some duct tape here to keep everything kind of in the shape that I wanted it to, because I knew once I covered it with the spray foam, there you go, Rye again. Once I covered it with the spray foam, it would really kind of keep its shape, because that spray foam ends up drying really hard, or like curing really, really hard, and that's nice. Alright, so here we go, just things I know about Return of the Living Dead. George Romero made Night of the Living Dead. I don't know who the dude was that worked on it with him. I should know that, and if I looked it up before I was making this video, I could have told you, but you can absolutely look that up. Somehow George Romero ended up being able to keep the title like Night of the, and then Dead, or maybe Night. I don't know how it worked, but he got to keep Dead, but the dude that worked on it with him got to keep Living Dead. So Return of the Living Dead was originally just going to be a sequel of Night of the Living Dead. I don't know what went down that George Romero then had all his Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, whatever else of the Dead, I can't even remember. Was there a Twilight of the Dead? I don't think so, but there was a bunch of those things. And somehow this dude created Return of the Living Dead, and then there was Return of the Living Dead 2, which people don't really love, but I actually really love that movie as well. And then 3, and then 4, and then 5. And 4 and 5 are just god-awful from what I remember. I bought them, when I was in high school, got the DVDs. I probably still have them, but I probably watched them once with my friends, and that was it. So I can't really say much else about that. So let's see. I couldn't figure out how to do the ribs. I ended up going back to Home Depot and getting this, again, some plumber's nonsense. And, there's the ribs. There's some more spray foam. I'm spraying it down with water so I can form it. 9:20 at night on October 1st. Okay, I couldn't remember when I started this project, but I will tell you that today is October 8th and I'm done it. And I also watched Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Halloween 4, 5, 6, and I started 7. I'll go back and watch the 3rd and the 1st and 2nd because I think after the first 3 they're all garbage anyway, with some cool ideas but garbage. And I watched the first Friday the 13th. I watched Night of the Comet so far. So October barely even began and I'm already getting some awesome horror movies under my belt for October. I try to watch one a day in October, and I always fail. But this year, I think I got a head start. I'm trying to think if I've seen anything else. I think that's about it. I watched Sinners, and that movie was fantastic, but I watched that maybe like 2 months ago. So yeah, the spray foam is really fun to work with once you've wet it with a little mist and then waited like about 10 minutes. You can see the main thing what you can do with this is no matter how big it gets, wherever you spray it, you can always push it down. You can see I'm really like pushing that in there. That's really the best way to form this spray foam. You can't really like pull it out. You can't make it bigger. So like once you've patted it down into a shape, it's kind of stuck there. So anytime you don't like the size of something or you feel like you've pushed it down too much, you just got to add some spray foam, spray it down with a mist again, give it another 10 minutes, and then just kind of like, do the same thing again, but maybe not hit it as hard the next time. But it's nice to just build on top of things you've already built, as you can see I'm doing here. And I just kind of did lines of spray foam up and down the arm. If there's one thing I'd change on this build, it would have been that I made those arms at the bottom a little too big. But yeah, here's a barrel that I grabbed off like Facebook, like Marketplace. It was like $10. And here I just did some duct tape around the arms. I did a little bit of cloth as well. And then I added just gloves, just, work gloves. I filled those with a little bit of spray foam. And then here you can just see I'm doing those lines up and down the arm. And same kind of thing. So one other thing about Return of the Living Dead is, and I only found this out recently I've been watching just video after video after video. Oh, that's the other thing. I did watch Return of the Living Dead like 3 times while I was working on this project. So on top of all the other movies that I've been watching for Halloween, I did watch this 3 times. And I watched certain scenes from the movie way more than 3 times. But the movie itself was going to get an X rating, because in the scene where Trash is like strip teasing the screen or the graveyard or the other punks in the graveyard, it was originally like full frontal nudity, no clothes, no nothing. Insanity to me that they thought that they were ever going to get anything but an X rating. So, and this was, I don't want to mix things up. I'm not going to say it's universal, but either way, it was, this movie was, trying to make some money and trying to target certain audiences and like teenagers and horror fans, and then to try to do something like that and then still make it into theaters. I don't really understand what they were doing there, but anyway, they had to go back and refilm some of those scenes, and they gave the actress like this prosthetic that made her look like a Barbie doll. And then they just refilmed the same scenes, which is just weird as hell. The whole movie, I love the movie, but there's so much weird stuff going on. I mean, they used like they didn't use water for the rain scenes because they wanted it to really like be picked up by the camera on the film. So they used this like mixture of chemicals, and it was actually like burning some of the actors and actresses' skin, which is just another insane thing. They used real skeletons in some of the scenes because they were cheaper than buying plastic ones or having plastic ones made. I think they were like getting them imported from India because at the time, I guess it was like the late 80s. Yeah, late 80s, probably not early 90s yet. You could just purchase skeletons from India and have them shipped to America for like no money whatsoever, like $10 for a skeleton, something less than that probably. So that's kind of insane too. Here you can see that I'm just covering the hand with some of the spray foam, which I guess, looking back on that, maybe I would have done a little less of that because I think I made his hands a little too big. I don't really care. It's fine. But, for a Halloween prop, it's great. originally I was going way more like film accurate, but as you can see as you watch this, kind of steered away from that because I figured like this is just a Halloween prop. Return of the Living Dead never had like slime coming up out of the barrel, but I just kind of thought that would look cool. So like you'll see eventually I decide just to do that. And a lot of my other Halloween props have neon colors and I have a lot of black lights out, so I just kind of thought that would look cool. So I just kind of went with that. So here you go. I think this is that foam is probably cured or close to cured. I'm probably coming in a second here. Yep, here we go. I'm probably just going to start patting that down, trying to make it a little tighter. But yeah, the whole time I was working on this project, I was really thinking about like how cool a giant nemesis from Resident Evil 3 would look. And I think there's a chance next year I'm going to do that. I'm just going to have a giant goddamn zombie. I don't even know how I'm going to fit him in my garage because he's going to be like as tall as, I guess he'll be as tall as up to the rafters, so I guess he'll fit. And then I'll just kind of carry him out every year because using spray foam, he should still be pretty light. I'll probably do PVC and spray foam, but damn, if I do that, it's going to be pretty scary, pretty crazy. So since we're on the topic, I'm going to talk about it. There's giant skeletons in people's yards. I hate those. I don't understand them. They're just... Skeletons aren't that size. There's no reason for it. I started thinking about like what I would do if I got one of those skeletons, and I think I would turn it into something else. The first thing that came to mind was the giant like monsters in Resident Evil 4 that come at you, but they're like kind of big and fat and covered in skin. So you could like do that. At least it would have a reason for being big. I don't really understand why they're so big. I'd rather have 10 or 15 regular sized skeletons than that giant skeleton in my yard. But hey, that's just me. If you like them, you like them. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just a very strange thing. Alright, so once all this was done, I went and I added some spray foam around the barrel that was going to be slime. Oh, not yet, you don't see that, but that is what I did. This is detachable from the actual barrel, the zombie. So that's nice just to keep it light and be able to move it like from my front yard back into my garage again. Here he is with just the LED lights flashing. I got those again at Home Depot. I think they were like $9.99. Can't go wrong with something like that. And then here's the spray foam on the barrel. I attached the head with some foam inside of it just to kind of stick it to that PVC piping. And let's see, I think this is about it for the video. I apologize that I didn't really show everything. There was stages of painting and kind of fitting some of the tubing and just in general. But I kind of figured this gives you the gist of it if you want to build something like this yourself, and I'd love you to build something like this for yourself because I'd love to see it. I'd love to see what other people do. But here's pretty much the final product in the daylight. I had a little mishap with some of the foam, which you might not be able to tell right now, but I could tell. When I filled that head, it kind of started coming out of some of the holes that I'd poked in that skull, but I fixed it up. It was fine. So let's see. I think I have some nighttime shots maybe after this. Oh, there's the LED light. I really like the way that looks. And then I just put kind of like a black light up in front of it, or I will for Halloween, to give all the fluorescent slime kind of like a glowy look. But yeah, that's about it. So I guess I'll see you guys next time I build something or make something, or who knows. Alright, man, people, whoever, have a good night. Happy Halloween, and I hope you enjoyed this video.